Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of BSing Sports here on the BSing Network, where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. With me on my recap shows, as always, is Kyle.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing? I'm doing all right. As many of you could probably hear, I'm feeling just a little bit under the weather, but we're going to push through, get through this episode here. I have the blue light lens glasses on. I've had a migraine for 2 days. Just want to give you guys an explanation as to why you can't see my pretty eyes today, and why I sound a little bit funky. But let's get into it. Eagles dropped third straight game against Seattle last night, 20-17. There's a lot to break down here. For starters, Jalen Hurts obviously travels separately than the team. He was dealing with flu-like symptoms. They got worse on Sunday. He was able to play last night. Ran for 82 yards, which is kind of nice, and 2 touchdowns. However, overall did not look super solid outside of 2 specific drives in the game. What's your evaluation on Jalen Hurts last night there, Kyle?
My evaluation on Jalen Hurts? Well, I wanted to be like dramatic and corny, and I was going to say like grab my jersey, and I was going to like hold it up, and I was going to say, like it hurts to Hurts and everything, right? But that's kind of corny, but yeah, I mean, he had a rating of 40. Yeah, that's I don't even know what's going on here. It feels like this city is cursed, honestly, is what it feels like. That is why I am wearing all black, like the 49ers wore when they celebrated our funeral, because this kind of feels like the funeral of the Eagles right now. Like I said to you last week, that is if they beat the Giants, and it kind of is feeling like that right now. I feel like there's a lot of things I've been saying that are coming to fruition. I didn't want to be too negative at first, but now I am wearing all black. I have the pun, you know what I mean? Like,
something that you said a few weeks back, and at the time I said, "Man, you're crazy. We're 8-1, we're 9-1, or whatever we were at the time." Was you specifically pointed out Jalen Hurts' what's the phrase? Dejectiveness on the sideline. How he has no emotion. He's not on the sideline trying to pump up the defense. He's not over there talking to his receivers, unless one of them screaming in his face. And I kind of like threw it away at the time, but now there's like rumors and grumblings coming out of the locker room that the wide receivers are not happy with Jalen Hurts right now. And that's kind of a big deal considering, you just signed him to a huge contract, which we can get into another thing. It looks a little bit like the Eagles may have, gone down the same road twice. We don't have to bring up the other guy's name, Carson Wentz, but it's starting to feel a little bit like it's a little bit different because, they made the Super Bowl last year. They turn around and they start the season 10-1. Look, teams can be in slumps. Teams can fall behind and lose 2-3 games at a time. Absolutely. However, good teams shouldn't do that, especially towards the end of the year and especially against a team like the Seahawks. Now, obviously, the Seahawks are fighting for a playoff position. Pete Carroll has never lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. These things are, hand in hand.
Wow, I never knew that.
Correct. Pete Carroll is 8-0, including the playoffs against the Philadelphia Eagles now.
Dang.
Fun story. That's on 3 different coaches. Chip Kelly, Doug Peterson, and now Nick Sirianni. It may be 4. It may even have been Big Red too, Andy Reid.
I was wondering if you were
Pete Carroll's been in the league.
Not, yeah.
But yeah, so the Philadelphia Eagles have never beat Pete Carroll. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder, like, are these coaches just fall guys at this point? It's starting to feel like the head office has too much control,
Oh, absolutely. Howie Roseman has too much control. 1,000% Howie Roseman has too much control. Now, the offensive and defensive coordinator and Nick Sirianni can't be let off the hook here. You didn't really have a great game plan. Seattle is so good at defending the bubble screen, and you ran 11 of them last night for a combined yardage of 3 yards.
Hey, they ran a couple inside zones as well,
But here's the thing.
I don't understand. That's the only 2 plays you're seeing right now. What is going on?
The only 2 drives that the Eagles scored on last night, and this should go, they ran the ball 3 more times each drive than they did throw the ball. Now, granted, design runs to Jalen Hurts count on that scenario, but still designed runs 3 more times than passing on those drives, and you went down the field and you scored both times, and it looked easy for you. Like, That's not a bad Seattle defense, and you made it look easy on 2 drives, but the rest of the game, you were just, like, lost because all you wanted to do was throw the football and pad Jalen Hurts stats.
Hey,
I
can
don't
I
give a shit
also
about
add
Jalen
one more
Hurts
thing
stats.
that I
Yep.
that I that I also hate to see as well? Every time Jalen Hurts runs the football, I hate to see that because the way he runs the football. This is the guy that's getting paid how much money? And he runs like he's a running back. Dude, can you please learn to slide? I'm tired of it, dude.
He's not good at sliding. You are 1,000% correct
You
there.
gotta protect yourself. It's like what literally. I don't understand. All it does is protect you. It can draw a penalty. I mean, it's just a good thing. Like, why not? I don't know. He
Yeah,
just like
he
it
to
runs
start the
head
season,
first
he's
into people. It's crazy.
listen, there's gonna
Sorry.
be a time for that. In the playoffs is the time for
Hmm.
that, but not here in the regular season.
Sure.
Now,
Yeah.
here's the other side of that. I'm not entirely sure Jalen Hurts should have played last night. He was sick. He had flu-like symptoms. He hasn't looked super great. The knee isn't really good, and you clinched a playoff spot Sunday
Mm.
without even having to play. I'm thinking maybe Jalen Hurts probably could have sat last night out, especially
I
with the way he looked.
honestly, they could have probably just sat him until you know the rest of the season. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
get him ready for the playoffs. You know.
I agree. Jalen Hurts signed a 5-year, $255 million contract that starts next season. Let's get to some comments real quick before we jump into any more.
Mm.
Ken Brandt says, not going to make it out for the first round. Not going to make it out of the first round. This
Yeah.
defense can't stop anybody. Hawkins
100%.
says, yeah, I'm right there. Hawkins says offense needs a change up. Brian Johnson is allergic to intermittent routes. I agree with that as well. And it was raining.
uh,
But no, everything. Look, there. I'm not making excuses because you went in there as the better team and you should have won the football game. You played against Drew Lock, who hasn't started. He started one other game in 2 seasons. And on that last drive of the game, you made him look like a superstar. Now, part of that is James Bradbury getting burnt by DK Metcalf twice and then Jackson Smith and Jigba.
yeah, it looked just like the Rose Bowl play, you know? The
Yeah.
same it's the same
Yeah,
touchdown,
yeah.
dude. The same touchdown.
But that's the other thing is James Bradbury. We like put up such an effort to keep him in.
Oh,
I know my brain is going all over the place again. Apologize. I'm
no.
on some meds.
I mean, dude, what do you expect? That game was horrible, and
I
these
know
last 3
it's
games have been horrible.
I know it's so hard to like focus on one whole thing. I would say it's not a complete team loss there, Tim Hawkins, because I think special teams did pretty decent. given
Mm.
the opportunity to return the football, I think Britton Covey continues to be one of the best return guys in football, and obviously Jake Elliott is money. But he only
Keely
gets one
Ringo looked
opportunity.
pretty good too.
I wanted to get into the young guys. Even Sidney Brown, he wasn't super solid in coverage. However, he looks like he's going to be a good tackler. I know he missed 2 on Kenneth Walker, but I've seen really good linebackers miss Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, I mean, I like the intensity, the drive. I mean, I think Sidney Brown is the kind of guy that would be committed to the team, right? And
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like a lot of the stuff that Slay has been saying in the media lately about not wanting to, you know, sacrifice his body for the team or making tackles that he doesn't need to make necessarily, get his teeth knocked out, or whatever he said exactly, right? But you know, kind of rubs me the wrong way. Like after you exploit us for another $6 million, threatening to go to the Ravens, you know. But
yeah. No, and I'm right there
oh,
with you.
but the one thing I wanted to add, I'm sorry,
No, go
sorry,
go.
but I just heard this. It scared the crap out of me because I actually am really big on the guy and I like him. Is Nolan Smith reportedly said to a reporter that his shoulder is like his baby. He always has a shoulder injury. That scared the shit out of me when I heard that.
I'm pretty sure we knew that going into drafting him, which is why he
Oh,
fell all the way down
shit,
to
I didn't
28.
know that. Damn,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
they're hoping for 14 games a season out of him.
Yeah.
Now, if you have depth, that's not a problem. If he has to play every down, that's going to be a problem.
Mm.
But
we don't really draft linebackers like that, so
yeah, no, but we signed decent one. We signed decent ones. You know, we got Hassan Reddick. That's the other
Mhm.
thing is your defensive line is supposed to be so good at getting home. You've had 3 sacks in 3 weeks. What's going on? I'm
I
pretty
don't
much
know.
just going to complain about the Eagles at this point. I'm just going to start complaining position by position. Jalen Hurts last night, you sucked.
Honestly, I was expecting a lot different. Just everything out of this line, this defensive line, because I mean, I'm like, yeah, dude, like we just got Jalen Carter, hell yeah,
Yeah,
like dude, we
yeah.
got Fletcher Cox, they're going to be like I was talking so much shit, and now it's like
The first 6 weeks of the season, they were averaging 68.3 yards per game rushing, and now it's up to like 152 yards per game rushing.
mm,
It's the same it's the same personnel, so you're gonna have to tell me what happened.
yeah,
Like,
I don't know.
um, Ken Brandt's reiterating something I said earlier. When they ran the ball, they looked good.
Yeah,
That's the other thing. You gave DeAndre Swift 18. Let me make sure I got this right. Yeah, you gave DeAndre Swift 21 touches for a total of 83 yards. It's more than 4 yards a touch. That sounds
mhm.
like a guy that needs to be touching the football, right?
Yeah, sure.
Um, Now, look, I am going to
One
make an
big play can
excuse.
change that, you know what I mean? Like,
I agree. The last play where Jalen Hurts throws the interception. I do think that AJ Brown was interfered with and it wasn't called, but I'll get past that.
oh yeah,
The throw was a mistake. He had Kenny Gainwell with nobody in front of him for 25 yards as his check down running back right there, and he never looked at him. All he did was throw the ball down the field to AJ Brown. Maybe he was looking to draw a flag. I don't know, but you didn't get it, and you made a huge mistake because all you needed was 13 yards to put Jake Elliott in a position to tie the game and send you to overtime.
dude, I don't understand that his last 8 minutes. I don't understand. Uh, honestly, after I was speechless. I couldn't believe
Yeah,
what happened, dude.
I
I
yeah
was
I tell you what, I must have expected them to lose this game because when it was over, I just shrugged. That's not the reaction I've had for any of these other losses this entire season. When they lost, I just shrugged. Okay.
I mean, it's not that like I didn't expect it or anything like that. It's just that I felt like that game was won. When we got to 8 minutes, we got the ball back. I'm like, dude, this is easy. Just run the ball.
You're
Just
up
keep and then
17.
DeAndre
Yeah.
Swift, he gets that first down. I'm like, yes, here we go, dude. Easy first down. Run the ball again. I'm like, what the hell's why the hell are you throwing the ball? Like you said, he's trying to draw that pass interference. I got news for you, buddy. We're Philly. We're not going to get that. What are you thinking? Like,
Listen,
design
even
some
the
better plays,
announcers,
bro. Like, what's
listen,
going on?
even the announcers admitted the one on Kes Watkins. First of all, you should never fucking throw the football to Kes Watkins. Let me start with that. Second of all, there was clearly pass interference on Kes Watkins in the
Oh
end
yeah,
zone there.
yeah,
And they just didn't call it. Even the announcers were like, kind of got away with that one there. Pretty
yeah.
obvious. But again, I reiterate, you should not be throwing the football to Kes Watkins regardless.
I mean, when he
Overall, a
threw the
pool.
ball to Goddard or whatever into three people are on Goddard and he throws it right to him. Like, I mean, yeah, he caught it and it was a nice pass, but it's just like the decision making is scary.
That's what I was going to get to. Maybe part of it was the flu, but I don't know what's going on the last 2 weeks before that. But his decision making has not been good. He tried twice to get the ball to AJ Brown downfield when he wasn't really open, and there was double coverage with a safety over the top. There was one in the third quarter, and then there was one again, obviously, there at the end of the game that was intercepted. And on both plays, if you go back and look at it, he had a check down to the running back that had no one in front of him.
Yeah,
You got to take what they're going to give you. This is why teams like the Cowboys are being successful. Teams like the Niners are being successful. If the read isn't there, they're checking down. You don't need to throw the ball 30. The ball does not need to be in the air 15, 20, 25 yards of play. These are mistakes by Jalen Hurts. Now,
100%. And you're 100% right too, because those quick little slants are there. He's just not taking them. You know what I mean?
correct.
Right in between the hashes. Sometimes Gainwell or whoever will be there, and he just doesn't see it or whatever. It's just crazy.
Yeah, there was a 3rd and 6 again. I think in the third quarter. I think on that 8-minute drive, or it was the fourth quarter. I think on the 8-minute drive where he tried to force the ball to AJ Brown, who was under double coverage, but underneath of AJ Brown was a wide open for 10 to 12 yards Devontae Smith, and he just didn't look at him. And it wasn't like he was on the other side of the field. Same side of the field. This is a situation why Jalen Hurts is not making good decisions. Now, my question here is,
Is it
why
coaching?
last year? Yeah, right. Like why last year was Jalen Hurts making all the right decisions, and this year he's not. There's got to be something going on internal. There's got to be.
I think what's kind of happening is Nick Sirianni's like I heard someone call him a cheerleader before. It might have been Dan Cialo or whatever his name is, but
Yeah, Cilio, Dan Cilio. He came out today and said it.
yeah, well, yeah, he's been calling him a cheerleader for a while. So I think maybe that could be what's going on in the locker room. Like they just have no respect for him. It's like he's a substitute teacher, and the kids are just having fun, goofing
Yeah.
off, and he's not really laying down the law, bro. Like he doesn't. I mean, I don't really see the fire in him like I saw last year. Where's all that, explosive? He looked like he just looks deflated. I don't know. Maybe
Listen,
he has no say. Maybe it's. I mean, Howie's son is in the analytics department, right?
yeah. Howie is definitely way too involved in everything. Now, having said that, it's easy to point fingers when you're losing 3 straight, and again, all 3 of those teams are playoff teams. Like I digress. Fine, all 3 teams are playoff teams, but you shouldn't have lost the way you did to the Cowboys. You shouldn't have lost the way you did at home to the 49ers, and you definitely shouldn't have lost against the Seahawks. No excuses. Like the worst part about this is when we got into this gauntlet of teams, right? We said, okay, well, we have the Dolphins a little bit earlier, but then we have the Cowboys, the Bills, or the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Niners, the Cowboys, and the Seahawks. If we come out of that, we're at 4-3, we're going to be really happy, including the Dolphins game. We did come out of that 4-3, but the way they're losing doesn't make me feel real good. It just doesn't.
No. And I mean, all these issues have been issues that they've been having all year. It's just that it's coming to fruition. And like they
Correct.
said, we were exposed, whatever they want to say, I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand why there's no adjustments. That's the thing I don't get. I mean, I can
Yes.
understand these mistakes. I can understand, but why is there no adjustments? What is going on?
I don't know. I complained about this last week and the week before with you, last week by myself. So you got A.J. Brown targeted 10 times, only 5 receptions. Devontae Smith targeted 5 times, all 5 receptions. Dallas Goedert targeted 9 times, only 4 receptions. But then you've got Julio Jones with 1, Swift with 3, Gainwell with 1, and Watkins with 1. You're throwing the ball to 3 fucking guys. Of course they're going to tee up on them.
Yeah. I mean,
this Eagles game, the coaching. Listen, I can deal with Jalen Hurts making the wrong decision if the coaching is putting everyone in a position where it's all on Jalen Hurts. But it's not. You're not helping him with play calling. Again, I know I pinpointed 2 specific plays that he could have done a check down. I get that. So not all of his decision-making is great. However, it was said last week by somebody, A.J. Brown declines that it was him, but it sounds like it was probably A.J. Brown, that the reason Dallas is so successful is because they have a whole bunch of underneath routes. So like, yeah, they send CeeDee Lamb on a deep route, but then they send all 3 other guys are in the crossing routes in the middle, and Dak Prescott does a check down and he gets 10 yards on those check downs to his tight ends and stuff like that.
yeah.
Coaching isn't helping. Jalen's not making great decisions, but I wonder if that's because he feels like because the coaching has been so bad, he's got to do too much. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, but I don't understand why he feels that. I really don't understand why he feels that way because, I mean, dude, like I'm not trying to act like I know football, like 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 I'm not acting like I'm some football genius, but dude, I don't understand why. It must be coming from the top. Because if you, I mean, 8 minutes left, you're not running the ball. What the hell is going on, dude? It just doesn't make any damn sense to me.
If the play calling actually is coming from the top, listen, I'm a conspiracy theorist. All I want right here, you guys can say whatever you want for me, is if it is in fact coming from Howie Roseman that you need to warrant the contract that you gave to Jalen Hurts and he needs to throw for 5,000 yards or whatever.
That's insane thinking.
That's a stupid decision, right? Like, no, just send him out there and let him do what he does really well. Listen, he was playing with the flu last night, still ran for 82 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's Jalen Hurts' game. Teams made him sit in the pocket last year, and he found ways last year to beat him because the play calling was different. Shane Steichen is obviously a significantly better offensive coordinator than Brian Johnson. So this year, you're not letting him run. You showed in the first 10 games of the year, you're not going to let him run the football. So now defenses aren't really even holding anybody to him. They're forcing him to beat you out of the pocket, and now he can't do it because you're not calling as good of a game plan. Like, I firmly believe that Hurts isn't playing his best, obviously. I mean, you look at the stats. Again, he played 50, what did he get? 54.5% completion percentage last night for 2 interceptions, a quarterback rating of 40. He's not playing his best football, and I totally get that. But when you take one element of his game away, he's not going to play his best football. The coaching is pissing me off. The players are pissing me off. The coaching's pissing me off. I'm just pretty much pissed off.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wonder if, like how I said before, like, not to be too controversial, but I kind of feel like maybe these guys' heads aren't in the right place too, the players, like maybe they're more worried about. I mean, is it I got paid, now I don't care anymore? Is that what it is?
I
Like,
mean, a lot of this team hasn't gotten paid. Jalen
yeah,
Hurts has gotten paid.
yeah.
Dallas
Well, what
Goedert
about
has a contract.
Slay?
It's a
I mean,
one-year deal.
specifically Slay. Yeah,
Yeah, but his is like a one-year deal. So is Bradbury's. Like, those guys could very easily be out the door next year,
yeah.
and we'll be running out there with Avonte Maddox, who's injury prone, Keely Ringo, and Sidney
I'm
Brown.
just more mainly lamenting. I know hindsight's 2020 and everything, but it's more about, guys that we gave up for them and stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I get that. Listen, going into the season, and again, you start out, what was it, 8-0, then you lose to the Jets. Fine, you probably could have done without that Jets loss, especially right now.
mm,
But you start the season so good, even with these little. Like, we were talking about it, like, hey, you're losing close, you're winning close games. You can't keep doing that. Teams are going to start beating you, and
yeah.
obviously that started to happen. But you're winning, so you don't point the finger as hardcore at them. Like, yeah,
Oh, of
we've
course
known all
not.
year James Bradbury has been getting burned by number one receivers. That's why he, stays on one side of the field, and if they're over there, he gets burned. If not, great. But last night he was forced to cover DK Metcalf and couldn't.
Well, see, that's part of the problem when you have a culture or just the ideology that you can't take any kind of criticism at all. I mean, I can understand being overly critical. I think some people are kind of like that, like Bill Belichick in particular, but from stories I've heard. But um I think that overall, if you don't get that kind of criticism, where are you going to see your faults? You're not going to see your faults, and then it's going to set you up for failure. And that's kind of what's going on with the Eagles right now, right? Like, they're getting exposed because these are things that people have been seeing, and nobody wanted to talk about it because nobody wants to be the negative Nancy. And you know,
I tell you what, I hope there's some negative Nancy's in that locker room, because if this doesn't if they come out next week and lose to the Giants, the city is going to be in an uproar.
yeah. I mean,
Like, if they come out and lose to the Giants next week, they're going to be asking for somebody's job.
yeah. I just feel like I feel like the city's cursed. I feel like it's insane. I don't understand why they sign guys to the contracts that they sign them to. In any sport, every sport, it doesn't matter. In the city, what are you doing? You can't do that. There needs to be a new way of thinking when it comes to uh scouting talent or something. I mean, they need, you know what they need to do? Clear everyone out except for maybe Stoutland and what's his name, and then just redefine the culture here, I think, because they need to, like, find more multi-purpose tool guys, get guys playing out of position maybe in practice to see, like, maybe Sidney Brown could be repurposed as a corner, or you know what I mean? Like,
Like a slot corner, I hear you.
yeah, exactly, right. I just think that, I don't know, like, we've let some guys go that actually are prospering right now.
Javon Hargrave,
Yeah. You
amongst other
know,
people.
but just like, we don't really have a whole, like, a good, like, kind of a farm system for our Eagles, right? Like,
Depth,
for
yeah, we
our,
don't have a lot of
yeah,
depth, yeah.
yeah,
Here's I don't disagree with the Eagles signing Jalen Hurts after the season that he had last year. Um, yeah, Tim Hawkins makes a good point. TJ Edwards, we probably should have kept. Kaiser White probably should have been somebody else we could have kept looking at. Um, I don't disagree with the signing of Jalen Hurts, 5 years, $255 million after the season he had last year. He took a team that was supposed to just barely make fringe playoffs, like they did the year before. He increased to 68% completion percentage, which was 4 points higher than it was the year prior. and 10 years higher than it was 2 years prior, or 10 points higher than it was 2 years prior. And again, he takes you to the Super Bowl, and you're 2 really shitty defensive calls away from winning that game. And Jalen Hurts plays out of his
but
mind in
look
the
at how
Super
he
Bowl.
look. But he also made some really crazy mistakes too.
He
Let's
made
be honest.
one crazy mistake. It was the fumble. Jalen Hurts played really good in the Super Bowl. So I agree with signing him when they did. And I agree with him wanting to sign when he did, because then he comes out, he has this kind of a season. You maybe get him for almost $100 million less than you did. But it is what it is. Like I said, people are out there saying, oh, the Eagles made the same mistake they did with Carson Wentz. They signed him too early. But I don't think they did. Jalen Hurts is better than the guy we've seen, because we've seen him be better consistently through 16, 17 games. Like, we've seen it be consistent. So we know he's better than the guy we've got right now. So the lingering knee injury, the flu last night, whatever's going on in the locker room is clearly messing him up. But that's your guy. Like, that's the quarterback going forward. Nobody's going to take that contract from you. So you need to figure it out.
Yeah, honestly.
But I'm just about done complaining about the Eagles. Drew Lock, congratulations on beating the Eagles. You go 22 of 33 for 208 and a touchdown. Kenny Walker obviously ran all over our defense, which is supposed to be good against the run and wasn't. And then the Eagles just look super lethargic and unimpressive.
Yep.
You got anything else?
Trying to think offhand. I don't think. I think we pretty much covered everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was a super.
Oh wait, no, there was one thing I wanted to kind of. It's kind of complaining about the Eagles slightly. Was I just wanted to get your impressions about, because I'm honestly pretty scared about the future, right? You know what I mean, of the organization, because where do we go? Because, like you're saying, we are kind of tied down to Hurts now, right? Like, we are tied down to Hurts now.
Oh yeah, we're tied down to Hurts, yeah.
And we're not going to have an offensive. So what's going to be Hurts when we are missing all of our pieces in the offensive line? What's going to happen there? And I mean, we're also missing pieces in the defense as well. So that's scary, right?
I would agree. Like I said last time I was on with you, Kevin Byard pickup seemed like a great one at the time. He hasn't shown me everything that I thought he was going to be coming from Tennessee. Now, it could be the scheme. Maybe he's not in the right kind of scheme. We've seen with other players in the past that if you're not in the right scheme on defense, you're not going to look very good. Javon Curse was one of those examples. Nnamdi Asomugha is another one of those examples where if it's not the right scheme for that kind of player, defense, it's tough. Defensively, it's tough for you to overcome that. So I think you need to, like, when you go get a new defensive coordinator this offseason, because you're going to fucking do it, you go get one. You don't hire somebody from within. And you see what kind of players he likes in his system. And then as an organization, trying to go match that kind of like system guy. As for the offensive line, Jason Kelce likely retires at the end of this season. Lane Johnson, I think, still has another year and a half, or another 2 years, I think, on his contract. So we'll have him for at least another 2 years. And then Jordan Mailata just signed a big deal, so he'll be here for a while. So really, we're talking the interior 3 guys. But Cam Jurgens has been playing well when he's not injured.
I mean, Lane Johnson's amazing, but the thing that's scaring me is that nonstop lingering groin injury that he has.
I mean, he's getting older. Like, he's gonna.
Yeah, no, I know that, but that's what I'm saying, right? Is how many games are we going to have him for the time that we have him left as well? Anyway, I mean, it looks really scary. The future
in the future, I know. Coming into the season, you looked at the roster and you were like, okay, maybe they're not really in a win now. But now you're looking at how they're all aging out there as the season is going on, and now you're thinking to yourself, they really are in a win now. And that's weird to say, considering they just signed their franchise quarterback. They have a guy in DeAndre Swift who they probably will sign to a small deal. No, they probably won't. They don't sign running backs. They won't sign running backs. But yeah, we obviously have Dickerson, and we've got Sua Opeta, who's a rookie, and we've got Cam Jurgens, who's a rookie, and I can't even think about the guy on the left side.
Tyler Steen?
No, they traded Steen.
Oh, did they get traded?
Oh, they drafted Steen. They drafted Steen, according to Tim Hawkins. They drafted Steen. So I think on the offensive side of the football, I think in the most positive, negative way, I think AJ Brown is becoming a toxic in the wide receiver room. And again, I go back to last night, right? He was targeted 10 times, but only caught the ball 5 times. Why you keep targeting him?
Well, do you hold on, how long timeout? That just made me think of. Do you remember the comparison that I gave you? People are saying Carson Wentz, and I said, actually, it kind of reminds me of oh my god, my brain just farted there for a second. Donovan McNabb, because you have the TO aspect as well, right? You have the AJ Brown TO aspect.
Yeah.
So I really hope it doesn't turn into that. That would be terrifying.
No, of course not. Of course not. Especially since they're supposedly like best friends off the field. So like,
oh yeah, yeah.
You would think if there's an issue between the two of them, they can get that shit figured out.
Yeah.
But again, Goddard had 9 targets, but I would agree that 3 of them probably were poor throws, poor decisions. So really, you only give him 6 targets. He catches 4 of them. I think you throw the ball 31 times and you target one guy a third of the time. It's kind of a recipe for failure, right? Like, technically, if you add Goddard into that, you targeted 2 guys 2/3 of the time. Like, that's a recipe for failure. It just is.
Yeah. No.
Again, yeah, I stand by coaching is not helping. I also stand by Jalen not making the right decision.
They didn't change anything. They keep saying
they're
going to make adjustments, and they don't change nothing. Yeah.
No. So yeah, just look, taking away from all of that, like I said, going through the Miami to Seattle gauntlet situation, we said if we came out of that 4-3, we'd be real happy. They came out of that 4-3. It's just not the way we wanted it to happen, I guess. I don't know. So you are still a 10-win team. You're still in the playoffs. You're guaranteed a playoff spot. And honestly, Ryan and I were talking about this the other day. If you're the 2 seed, if you find a way to be the 2 seed, so you win out the rest of you beat the Giants, beat the Cardinals, you beat the Giants, you are the 2 seed, regardless of what Dallas does. That road is easier than the 1 seed, because the 1 seed, you likely get Dallas and San Francisco. The 2 seed, you may only end up with one of them. So it may not be the worst thing.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. No, they were planning this all along.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Obviously, you want the bye week, especially if Jalen's not healthy.
I know, yeah.
But yeah.
You want me to try now?
No. But all right, you got anything else before I cut us out?
No, that was it. Basically, just that, because I'm scared about the future.
Well, I'm worried about this year. Let's win now.
Yeah. No. I get that. I'm just saying, because I don't even know what's going to happen at the end of this year. It's looking not too good at this point, and also, the future's looking pretty bleak. Actually, I'm not trying to be too negative, but I did.
No, you're right.
All black today.
Hey, when you're right, you're right.
I mean, this could potentially be the biggest blunder in Eagles history. Honestly, it could go down to be that, dude. And
we thought that with the Carson Wentz signing, and then it ended up, we went to a Super
Bowl. No.
So.
Not Hurts. I'm talking about this season.
Oh, okay. Because you start off 10-1, and then
yeah.
Now, again, we could have a very different conversation in 4 weeks if they beat the Giants twice and beat the Cardinals. The conversation's different. Hey, you're 13-4. You're going into playoffs as the number 2 seed. That looks great. It feels great, especially if they come out and have dominant performances, right? Like if they come out and they're dominating these two teams.
Yeah,
I would feel just a little bit better than if they're just squeaking by wins against these not so good teams. But yeah, well, in any case,
maybe it's going to be time to activate the trap card. I choose you, Frank Reich, and then they're going to make Frank Reich the interim head coach for the time being.
I mean, if they wanted to bring Frank Reich in as an offensive consultant and then do the same thing they did with Matt Patricia and Sean Desai, maybe we're just going to have Frank call the plays this week and see what happens. Because Jalen Hurts was there. Jalen Hurts was there with Frank. Wait. No, he wasn't. He got drafted 2 years later. Never mind. Scratch that. But I mean, Frank Reich made Carson Wentz look like one of the best quarterbacks in football. And then when he was gone, Carson never looked the same. So there you go.
Yeah, especially
But
if you
yeah,
get hurt.
yeah, that's gonna do it.
Run
Do it
in
for
like
us
a
here.
dummy. Sorry.
Still beat the Rams that game. But that's
Yeah,
gonna do it
yeah,
there
yeah.
for us here on BSing Sports, part of the BSing Network, where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. Thank you and have a great night.